Sorry guys, I miss seeing your faces so much. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to come into the mindset and the reality that this is how we're gonna be living. Like, this is the new normal. I think for a while I was fine because I thought it was only gonna last a few weeks, but we're gonna be here till at least April 30th, which is way longer than 2 weeks that I just anticipated. So I don't know how you're feeling. I have days when I'm like, this is great. And I have days where I'm like, this is the worst. I just wanna see people in person, not over a screen, not through FaceTime. I'm not even enjoying FaceTime anymore because Wi-Fi is slow and sometimes their face freezes, and then I'm like, I would rather just call you and not be able to see you right now. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm in this high moment one second and a low moment the next, and it's okay. And so I just want to read a verse before we get started. It's 2 Corinthians 10, 3 through 5. So, for though we walk in flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments of every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God and take every thought captive to obey Christ. And right away, the last little bit in verse 5 really stands out to me, of just, and take every thought captive and obey Christ. And for me, I'm trying to look at what that looks like right now. How do I take captive every moment to obey Jesus? And I think that's something we might have heard a lot right now of, how are you spending time with Jesus? How are you growing? Like, maybe you're doing great and you've read through the Bible by now. I don't think anyone has, but please challenge me if you have and prove me wrong. And maybe you're like, I actually haven't opened my Bible since the beginning, and so now I just feel like a failure, and can I even start? And I just want to let you guys know there's so much grace no matter where you are on the spectrum. There's some days where I go every day and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so good. Like, I loved reading. I just finished Joshua, so I loved reading through Joshua. And then there was a day where I was like, well, what do I read now? Like, how do I figure out what's next? And then I just feel like, should I even try? The answer is yes. Yes, you should try. I tried. Now it's great because now we're reading through John, so I know what to read. And even if you don't make it to John, and you're like, I forgot to read a chapter today, that's okay, there's grace. But I just want to encourage you guys to take captive every moment that we have right now. And even in the verses before says, there's a war that's going on that's not through flesh, and it's actually the enemy and other spirits and forces trying to take captive of our mind. And so yeah, sometimes it is things that we just desire so much with our body, and sometimes it's Netflix that just continues the next show, and it's just trying to take a hold of us and distract us. And that's okay. There's moments where it's really fun to watch Netflix and to figure out what everyone's talking about. And there's other moments where I've begun to realize that if I just sit and watch Netflix for a long time, I feel really gross and I actually don't like it. And so I'm trying to take captive every moment. And I don't know what that looks like for you. I only know what it looks like for me. But that means hammocking a lot. I've been trying to get outside because I don't want to stay inside all of the day. And so I go and I take my hammock, and maybe I take my Bible and journal, maybe I don't really take anything, and I just sit and I wait and I listen, and sometimes I talk to God and sometimes I don't, and sometimes I hear things and sometimes I don't, and I don't really know what's gonna go on with it, but I'm trying to take captive of every moment. And I don't even think that means every moment with Jesus either. I think it's every moment with our family. A lot of us are stuck with our parents and our siblings, and the weeks are starting to go by really long, and we're like, great, now I have to hang out with my siblings again, or my mom and dad just keep on interrupting me when I'm working on school. Like, can't they just leave me alone for a little bit? And that's okay to feel those things, but how are we being present and being captivated by how the Holy Spirit is working in us in those moments? So instead of getting mad when your mom opens the door and you're on a Zoom with your class, how do you just be like, hey mom, like, I'm on a Zoom, politely, and you don't have to get angry at them because everyone else is being interrupted on their Zooms too, and to just have grace, but to be present and captive for where we're at. And so I think it totally fits into where we're at in how we're spending time with Jesus and how we're hearing from him and what we're reading and how we're worshiping, but also how we're spending our time with our families and maybe our neighbors from a distance or our animals, whatever it looks like. How are we being captivated in how Jesus is speaking and trying to use this moment? And I just want to encourage you guys to keep leaning in, to keep pressing what you're hearing from him, to take a few minutes and to go outside with nothing. Leave your phone inside, leave your iPad inside, and to just go and sit in silence, because I think right now it's so easy to take the silence that we have and fill it with so many things. But what about if we're intentional and captivated by the silence when we intentionally choose silence right now? So go ahead, after this video is over, maybe it means right now, going outside, going into your closet because you don't want to keep sitting on your bed or in your desk, and find a new spot to just be silent. And maybe you'll hear something, maybe you won't, but to ask Jesus to come into that moment to meet you. And either way, you're gonna learn from it. You're gonna learn either sometimes you really hear him clearly and sometimes you don't. And it's just an easy way to continue to trying to be captivated by how the Holy Spirit is leading us in this moment. So I hope you guys can enjoy it. Let us know how it goes. I'll see you guys.